creating some integrity with the character over the years. I mean, that was challenging. You know, normally when you do a movie, I always like it. It's like a sprint. You kind of put blinders on. You just kind of go as fast as you can. And you gather momentum from day to day. I'm usually much better at playing a character 6 weeks into a shoot than I am in the first day. And this was like a continual first couple days. You'd get into the character, and then you'd have to take a year off. You know, it's frustrating at times, especially because I started to love the character. You know? And so that was hard. It was not as hard as it could have been because I had a real clear idea of the man I wanted to do a portrait of. And, you know, I am a father, and I have a good relationship with my father, and I kind of wanted to, I knew the kind of person I wanted to create. Try to put as much of myself as possible into these things without getting in the way of, you know, the story. For the last decade and change, this movie's been a place where I could put my feelings about parenthood and what I recalled about childhood. And, you know, I mean, Linklater and I made Before Sunset and Before Midnight while we were making this. So we were always talking and working on it and thinking about time and thinking about our own kids and how to tell a good, vibrant story about parenthood. You know, in a lot of ways, what the Before trilogy tries to do with romantic love, this does for family. You know, you could put these back to back in a way and watch Boyhood and then Before Sunrise, and they would probably flow pretty well. For me, the most emotional moment wasn't one that I was in. We worked on this movie for a long time, right? It was in my consciousness for, you know, 14 years, dreaming about what this movie could be. And then one day, just a couple months ago, really, 6 months ago or something, Rick texted me a photo of Eller and Rick hugging in the desert after they finished the last shot, and I just burst into tears. You know, it was all this work. I wasn't there for the last scene, but all this work, all this thinking, you know, went into this 2.5 hours of celluloid. You know, and seeing the shot of the two of them hug, I knew it was over. And it was a melancholy moment. No, that was scripted. That was scripted. We knew that in a lot of ways that was we knew that we're figuring out how to end the movie, and we knew that it's beautiful watching time pass, but what's the point? I mean, there's a larger thing happening, and that's what's so frustrating about our lives is that none of us know why we're born. You know, I mean, it's this amazing riddle, really, that we choose to ignore most days. And young people sometimes have the audacity to ask the question, you know. But yeah, that's one of my favorite moments too. You know, I don't really like art that tells you a clear message. I mean, one of the things that I think is beautiful about the movie is that I have people come up to me and say, oh, you were just like my dad, or that was just like this. The movie is so simple in a lot of ways that you can bring yourself to it. I think there is there's something at work there about enjoying the passing of time. You know, I mean, that's what it's, you know, what's the John Lennon line, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. You got to be careful not to let that line be true, you know? This movie's a kind of not dissimilar to Dead Poets Society. It's a beautiful, you know, right at the very end, they do a little riff on Dead Poets there where she says, you know, they say, you know, you're supposed to grab the moment, seize the day. And she says, I think the moment grabs us. It's beautiful.